Hello peeps, welcome to another edition of Politics is Life. My name is Yetunde Makinde. Today, I'm moving away from the political aisle to do a brief philosophical discourse. Remember, I'd mentioned in my introductory video that I will from time to time share philosophical thought. Frankly, you couldn't discuss politics without entering the realm of philosophy, which as a discipline covers all dimensions of human existence, from social relations to the economy, economic habits, politics, ethics, culture, spirituality, education, etc. In light of this, I've decided to do a brief on the spirituality of Aomokoto Jire, aka Yoruba people. So this content is titled Esu Is Not Satan. Yes, you heard that right. Esu is not Satan. The notion that Esu is Satan is a lie that has gone on now since the King James Bible was translated into Idawomo Karojiri by Ajayi Crowther in the 19th century, specifically in 1884. Why Ajayi Crowther chose Esu to mean Satan and the devil is a mystery to me. My intention is not to unravel why, but rather disproving and deconstructing this age-long lie and error is my singular objective and the point of this presentation. This may be a long one, so I ask that you grab your favorite beverage, sit back as you follow the exposition. To distinguish one from the other and disprove Esu is not Satan, I'll define both, and at the tail end of this presentation, use the respective characteristics to establish their core differences. So I start with Satan, who according to the teachings of Islam and Christianity is an all-powerful entity who is the polar opposite of God and Allah. Satan, however, can save as only God or Jesus can save. This much is how the Bible and the Quran present Satan. Before I delve into Esu, it's important to stress that there is no English equivalent for Esu. Esu is just that, Esu. In my opinion, Ajayi Crowther should have maintained Satani and Belisi throughout the Yoruba Bible instead of introducing Esu in his scholarly translation. I might add, Crowther even retained Lucifer as Luciferi. I'll circle back to this at the end of this presentation. Some have argued transposing Esu into the Bible was pure mischief on the part of Crowther, but I think it really is or was a genuine error. Moving on to defining and describing Esu. Esu, an entity in the Ifa cosmology, functions in his office as Orunmila's emissary and not messenger, as some within the Isheshe community say. I imagine they use messenger as a result of a lack of a better word. Emissary means someone who acts on behalf of another, while messenger is someone who runs errands for his principal or runs errands for someone. There's a distinction there. Though it may take a while before it becomes common knowledge, before many grasp and understand that Esu is not Satan, we within the Isheshe community, however, are resolved to continue to push back, especially now as patriarchal structures, that's Western structures, struggle to remain relevant in a changing world. Esu as principle is an intercessor as well as an enforcer of law. As an intercessor, Esu will plead and intercede on your behalf with the Orishas, bringing about immense reward and blessings. As enforcer of law, Esu will send reminders in form of subtle or massive calamity with the hope it will force you to retrace your step and keep you on the path of personal development and growth. This is so because the point of life on earth is growth. Evolutionary growth is the whole point of experiencing life on this side. We are all on a soul journey. So watch out for those nasty, ugly, painful, recurring experiences. That is Esu, in conjunction with your Orinu, trying to grab your attention to ensure you learn the lesson embedded in a particular experience so you can move up the evolutionary ladder. Esu, as enforcer of law, is great at throwing a spanner in your works. The point is to force you to grow up, be a better person. In other words, you're better off facing those challenges than avoiding them. You're better facing those challenges and surmounting them because you can. If you couldn't, the challenges will never have been worked into your gene, into your dynamic, into your blueprint, into your ikmi or ayoma. When you feel to be circumspect, Esu is glad to teach you a hard lesson. The unfortunate vilification of Esu is pretty disturbing when you realize there are devotees with names like Esu Bayi, Esu Biyi, Esu Funke, Esu Tomisin. These names buttress my point that Esu in Isheshe is loved, revered, and venerated, just as the other Irunmole and Orishas. Esu sure is capable of showering one with merited and deserved blessings. It's sad to note that Yoruba people, usually Christians, as a result of ignorance and conditioning, remove prefixes that are ostensibly linked with Osha from their names, such the names like Ogunoike, Oshuntomi, Oshagbemi, Ifadaisi, Ifariki, Ifabukumi, Ifabiyi. The prefixes are removed and replaced with Ulua. I know the Abrahamic faiths teach unmerited favor. That is, the doctrine that you can get what is not due you. Isn't that illogical? But let me just stick to what I know. Let me stick to the principles that I know. The idea of unmerited favor is not tenable in Isheshe. And this is simply because of the universal principle of cause and effect, which dictates that as a man sows, so he reapeth. As an aside, Isheshe is pragmatic, logical, scientific, and true. But I know that many people have been conditioned to vilify the Ifa system. I say Ifa is scientific because some principles taught in Ifa, principles enshrined in Ifa, are now being explained in disciplines like astrophysics and quantum mechanics. Back to Esu. Esu is extolled as Ogiri Oko, Okunrin. That's the masculine force of the crossroad. That's what that means. Okunrin, Ogiri Oko, Okunrin. And for good reasons, because at every point that we're faced with decision making, big or small, we are at a crossroad. The metaphoric crossroad is the point where we ruminate and weigh our options. Esu, as principle of contemplation, is present at this metaphoric crossroad. There are different types of Esu. Odara is the most intense from what I've learned from custodians of the perennial wisdom tradition we call Ifa. Also, all the parts of the 256 Odus each has its own Esu. Every Orisha also has a designated Esu. Esu Alaje is clearly attached to Olokun. There are many praise songs, Oriki, dedicated to Esu, just like all the other extraterrestrials, that is Irunmole and Oshais. Here is a sample. Tabanki Esu. Esu no tabanki Esu. Asope Esu L'alu Ogiri Oko. Okay, let me pause and explain that first line. L'alu. L'alu is actually a contraction of Olalu. So in essence, we're saying Esu is the blessing of a community, of a town, of a city, of a nation. That's what that means. Olalu, L'alu, blessing of. Esu L'alu Ogiri Oko. Ọkùnrin oríta, ará òkè tasẹ̀, àdíjà alẹ́ takété, òbẹ́lẹ́kún sọkún kẹ́rù òbẹ́lẹ́kún, ẹlẹ́kún sọkún, láàróyè ń sún ẹ̀jẹ̀, òbóní mímí, kẹ́rù òbóní mí, onímí ń fi mú mí, láàróyè ń fi gbogbo ara mí bí ajere, àfibidíre, àfiredíbi, láàróyè ẹ̀bọ̀ra tí ń jẹ́ látọ̀ pa, ọba ńlẹ̀ kétu, pàdó àsúbìdà, no àdó àsúre sí wa, bára tí ń fúnni kún tọwọ́ ẹni, ìbà o bàbá. The other names of Esu are Ẹlẹ́gbára, Olùlànà, Ọba Ọ̀dàrà, Onílé Oríta, Ẹlẹ́gbára Ọ̀gọ̀, Ológun Àjísà, L'alu Ògiri Oko, L'alu Bàrà Ẹlẹ́jọ́, Olúbáyọ̀dé. Other descriptive phrases for Esu are as follows. Àtẹ̀bà sínú ọmọ tí kò lọ́gbọ́n nú, àtúnwọ̀nká níbi wọ́n gbé ń dáná ọ̀rọ̀, Olúbáyọ̀dé, ó wẹgbó olóró, ó gbòòrò lọ, ayọ́ wọn lọ́wọ́ bí omi gbóná, abá oníjà wá kù mọ́. If you understand Yoruba, I'm sure you get what all of these phrases mean. I will, however, shed a bit of light on it so that it makes sense. Abá oníjà wá kù mọ́. You know, in instances when people have acted in socially unacceptable ways, or when they've exhibited antisocial behaviors, or worse still, when they've gotten themselves entangled in criminal activities, they will say, Esu ni. How? Why would you say that? When you okay? When you elect to act in an obnoxious way, when you elect to be obstinate, to be stupid, to act like an animal as opposed to acting like a human being. For example, you get involved in a street fight. You've elected, we all talk about free choice and free will. Free will is the mechanism that with free will, we have the freedom to choose, so you chose, you elected to engage in street fight. You get into a hassle with somebody and you're elected to get in a physical fight with someone. So, ofe daran, Esu anran lowo, afi aye gba. That Esu will do, but the choice was yours. So, you get in that physical entanglement with somebody, that's a physical fight. You grab a heavy stick, that's kumo. Esu abe wasitosi. Since you've elected to be dumb and to be obstinate, you lift the stick and hit your opponent, who drops, dies, and then you're charged. You're arrested and then charged and tried for manslaughter or for murder, and you're sentenced maybe to life or something. And then you want to turn around and put it at Esu's door. No, you just exhibited free will. You exercised your free will, your freedom to choose. So Esu is the voice of reasoning. But when you ignore and choose obstinacy, it's on you, not Esu. When you choose to get in a physical fight, we fan it for you. We really fan it up for you. On the contrary, if you elect to, because humans getting into squabbles, having misunderstandings, having issues, is something that we can't rule out. It's a given. That would always happen. But when that arises and when that occurs, you can always elect to be calm, to exhibit reasonableness. When you choose this path of reasonableness, of calmness, of acting like the human that you are, it should equally afayegbai, even in this situation. Afayegbai. So what happens when you elect to be human and be reasonable, to enter into a dialogue with the people you're having this squabble with, sit and talk and discuss and iron it out like human beings. When you elect this, your consciousness expands. And what this means is that your intuitive awareness will open up, and then wisdom will flow through, such that you're able to reach an amicable resolution with whoever it is you're having issues with. And then you resolve, you have a win-win situation. You win, the other party wins, or all the parties involved in the situation win. So what that guarantees, when you elect to be human, to be reasonable, what that guarantees is growth, progression on your path, progression on your path, growth, evolution. So whatever choice you make, Esu is there to blow it up for you. So if you choose stupidity, it will expand your stupidity. When you choose reasonableness, it would expand that for you. Having discussed Esu elaborately, to summarize the differences between the two, that's Satan and Esu, in a neat way, I will now use the core characteristics to distinguish one from the other and show Esu's nature, identity, and function is totally different from that of devil or Satan. So, 1, Satan has a polar opposite in God. Esu has no polar opposite in anything. Esu is just Esu, like I explained earlier. 2, Satan resides in hell, or is the patron of hell. First off, the concept of hell does not exist in Isheshe, and Esu as principle has no abode and is everywhere present in human affairs. At every moment where you're making decisions, that metaphoric crossroad, Esu is present. And since humans make decisions every second of their life, Esu is right there. So Esu is present everywhere. That's why I said Esu is present everywhere. And the principle that we call Esu operates only from the human plane onward. Esu does not operate at the mineral, plant, or animal level, only on the human level. Number 3, Satan is man's adversary, the slanderer, the accuser of man. Esu pushes man to be his best. Esu's role as enforcer primarily propel you to work on yourself, instilling virtues like discipline, patience, restraint, etc. This is necessary because to advance in the evolutionary journey of the soul, a test of character is a requirement, and who better to test you than Esu? Number 4, Satan constantly works against people, against humans. Esu is an intercessor, hence can facilitate blessings for those who have earned it, who have done the work, those who merit the prize. Number 5, there is only one type of Satan, and is the enemy of God and man. In contrast, there are different manifestations of Esu. Esu Odara, Esu Oko, Esu Oja, Esu L'alu, Esu Orita, àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Number 6. Satan is a fallen angel. This is not applicable to Esu at all. Furthermore, Esu is impartial, ever fair. Esu á gbé ẹ̀bi fún ẹlẹ́bi, á dẹ̀ gbé àre fún aláre. Esu perpetually strives to maintain harmony and balance in the affairs of man. So, with these 6 points, I've been able to establish the core differences between Satan and Esu. And if you go through those 6 points again, you realize that they have nothing in common. Esu is a distinct entity from Satan. I did say I was going to circle back to Lucifer. I'll do that quickly and wrap this up. Crowther left Lucifer as Luciferi. He basically treated Lucifer the same way he treated talent, which became talenti in Matthew 25, or is it 26? The idea that Lucifer is the devil or Satan is a misinterpretation, is as a result of misinterpretation of ancient writings. It is unfortunate our religion and a one-sided education system has brought about the situation. I actually discussed the detrimental negative effect of a one-sided education to a person in my book. I discussed that in chapter 3, how Nigeria's one-sided education system damages the average Nigerian. I'm sure you are aware that the educational curriculum that we run in Nigeria as of today is the same one that was bequeathed to us at independence. You know, what the colonial invaders bequeathed to us is what we still maintain. So basically, our school curriculum is static. Nothing has changed. Even though the world is evolving and changing, our educational curriculum remains static. And it sure does damage the average person. If you'd like to, I discussed that in my book, so let me just stick to what I'm discussing now. If you'd like to read up more, you'll find that in my book. It's unfortunate how religion and a one-sided education system has brought about the situation where people around the world are unable to think for themselves and only parrot and regurgitate what they have been conditioned and indoctrinated to believe. The New Testament Bible was translated from Greek text into English. Lucifer is Latin for light bringer. The Greek for Lucifer is phosphorus. The planet Venus is what is referenced in that particular scripture. I think it's Isaiah, where he talked about Lucifer falling from heaven and all of that. If you read it like you should, you'll know it's Venus that's been referenced here. The entire Bible is actually an allegorical work based on symbolic astrological language and must be read and interpreted in like fashion. Taking the events recorded in the Bible as historical fact and not allegory is partly responsible for so much of the confusion and conflict that persists around the world, especially in the Middle East. I know religious people don't like this kind of talk and usually become irritable, attacking the messenger instead of the message. If you're listening to this and you disagree with what I've just said about Lucifer and all, you're welcome to drop a comment, but it's a bit illogical to begin to attack me, attack my person. If somebody puts forth an argument, the logical, reasonable, mature thing to do is to put forth your own argument, and then we can have a healthy discussion as opposed to casting slurs and insulting people. Christians do that a lot when they want to, when they push their agenda. That religious people do it, even Muslims do it too. But it's not a cool thing to do. That's what I'm trying to say. If you disagree with me, it's allowed. We can have an intellectual discourse. Nobody needs to be attacking anyone. This is what I stand by, based on history, based on fact, based on the truth. If you disagree, put forth your own argument. But let me just move on. I know astronomy is not many people's strong suit. I know it's not something many people pay attention to, but I will just share this astrological tidbit. When Venus appears at dawn before sunrise, it's called light bringer or dawn bringer. And when seen in the western sky at sunset, it's called the evening star. Okay? So when you wake up in the morning, I know many of you don't look up, but you should do that because it's quite an illuminating, luminous experience and quite uplifting. When you wake up at sunrise and you look in the eastern horizon, the star that you see before the sun comes up, the star that you see at certain times of the year, the star that you will see is Lucifer. That's Venus. When you look in the western horizon, when you look in the western sky at sunset, right after the sun goes down, the first star that you see that comes up is Lucifer. That's Venus. Of course, Venus is a planet, but the planets appear like stars to us because of the distance between Earth and the position of the planet. So that's that about that. And this brings me to the end of this presentation. If you've learned something new, something interesting, something of value, and you'd like to support what my team and I do here at LTM, that Liberating the Mind, I would suggest that you grab a copy of my book titled Who Can or Will Save Nigeria? Anti-Brigade of Technocrats. The links to where you can grab a copy of both the e-copy and the print version are in the description box below. Until I come your way next time, it's Yetunde Oluko saying, Ireo.